Alright, hello my friends, and welcome back to a character build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. Today I'm going to be covering how to build the best party face for Baldur's Gate. So what's a party face? This is a character that's going to be doing all of our conversations. In Baldur's Gate 3, you have to take every skill check and most conversation options, with the exception of some story conversations, with a single character, whichever character initiates the conversation. So it's really good to put all of our charisma skills, all of our conversation skills, and as many other skills as possible on a single character at very high levels so that we can make as many skill checks as possible. It's also really important to me that this be just a strong and viable build, so it's a totally tactician ready build. It will be really fun and really powerful to play through the game with. In my opinion, one of the best and most powerful builds that you can use as a main character build, so absolutely recommended for playing the game. Alright, let's get into it. So first off, this character is a Githyanki. I have a level 5 character here that I'm going to be demonstrating the build with, that I've reset to level 1, but there are definitely some other options that you could use. Human or half-orc will get you an additional skill proficiency because they have the bonus human proficiency or the half-orc natural intimidation proficiency. Drow gets you perception for free and a bunch of other stuff. Wood elf is always a great choice, and we are not going to need the racial armor proficiencies from Githyanki, so while that's also a good choice for the astral knowledge ability, it's not as necessary as it is for some other character builds. So, because we're building a party face, we are going to start, of course, with the bard. For our cantrip selection, we're going to take Friends, and then the second one doesn't really matter, although Minor Illusion is good, Vicious Mockery is just good to have, Mage Hand is good to have, all of those are fine. And then for our spell selection, we definitely want Charm Person, we probably want Disguise Self, because that helps you a lot in different... Disguise Self is there. Whoops. That helps you a lot in different conversations. And then Speak with Animals is really important if you're going to be a party face, because of course you want to face with the animals as well. And then I threw in Animal Friendship as a role-playing option, but obviously there's better combat options like Sleep or Tasha's Hideous Laughter or Healing Word or whatever. For our ability point spread, the most important thing is that we have 17 Charisma, 12 Dexterity, and at least 12 wisdom, but I went with 14 here because that will increase our insight the most, and insight is also a conversation skill. And then our dexterity should be at least 12 because we plan to use heavy armor, and so you want the +1 bonus to maximize your AC. The remaining odd point I threw into strength just because strength gains jump distance and carry weight at odd levels as well as even levels, so it's the only stat that actually benefits from having an odd number in it. All the others only care about even numbers. For our skill proficiencies, we are of course just going to take all of the conversation skills, so we've got Deception, Intimidation, Performance, and Persuasion, and we are getting Persuasion and Insight from the Guild Artisan background, which is the one that I think you should probably take for this character, although any background that gets you this combination of skills is going to be really good. And since you can pick any skills with Bard, it's pretty easy to manage a combination that works very well. So that's our level 1 build. Let's level up, and I'm going to show you how we're going to build this build over the course of the first 5 levels, and then also a cool trick that you can do once you hit level 5, just for fun. Alright, so leveling up here. And at level 2, we're actually not going to take Bard. We're going to take a really powerful multiclassing option, which most classes should consider, I think, and that is a single level in Cleric. This also has some additional powerful options for us, because this will get us access to the Thaumaturgy cantrip, as well as the Guidance cantrip. Thaumaturgy gives you advantage on intimidation and performance checks. We're going to be making a lot of intimidate and performance checks as our conversation skills, and having an option to gain advantage on them, where you roll 2 d20s and pick the higher, means that we effectively get a free, for a cantrip, +5 bonus to those skill checks, so that's an enormous boost to our ability to succeed on those skills. Guidance on every other skill is an extra d4. Of course, you can get this from an ally. Usually Shadowheart does a lot of guidancing in my parties, but it's nice to have it on your main character as well, so that you can use it in addition to one of her other reactions, or if you just want to be self-sufficient or not bring another cleric then having guidance is really strong as well. And then for our third cantrip, it doesn't really matter what we pick. For our subclass, I think there's a few options. Life Domain is probably generically the best one-level Cleric dip because you get heavy armor and shield proficiency, which will put your AC into the stratosphere, as well as giving you the Disciple of Life ability, which lets your healing spells do an additional few points of healing. Really powerful with the Healing Word spell, which is what you usually want to be using as your main healing option. It also has pretty good domain spells. You'd probably want Cure Wounds and Bless equipped anyways. You could also go with Tempest or War for martial weapon proficiencies in addition to heavy armor. Tempest is probably better just because Fog Cloud is a better domain spell than the others, but the one that I'm actually going to pick here, even though it doesn't give you heavy armor proficiency, is Knowledge Cleric, because what it does do is give you access to expertise into additional spells. Expertise is basically double proficiency. So having Arcana and History with double proficiency, for example, gives you an enormous amount of additional utility. Even with 8 intelligence, we're still going to have pretty solid bonuses to these skill checks all throughout the game. And of course, there's some ways to increase our intelligence that we'll have access to. For our prepared spells, there's nothing that particularly matters at level 1. I think you probably want Bless, you probably want Healing Word, but for the point of building the ultimate party face, there's nothing that is particularly critical. So that's our level 2. Let's go back to Bard for level 3. And we don't really make any particular decisions here. We already have all the spells that we want to have access to, so we can grab, I don't know, something like Fairy Fire or something like that. Anything is fine here. Replace spells you can use to replace, if you took Sleep for the early game, you can use to replace Sleep with a spell with better utility later on. Doesn't really matter what we select here. Let's go to level 4. At level 4, we hit level 3 Bard and get to choose a subclass. The Bard subclasses are really, really strong, and in particular the one that we're going to pick, and that I think is also just the strongest class in the game, is the College of Lore. Because we're a Cleric, we don't need the armor proficiencies from the other Bard classes, so College of Lore has no downsides and gives you a huge amount of bonuses, including expertise with 2 skills for being a level 3 bard, and 3 additional skill proficiencies for selecting the College of Lore. This is kind of hidden in the level up screen. You have to go back to level up bard, and then you do click skills, and then we are going to select Intimidation and Persuasion for our expertise, and then for our proficiency skills, it doesn't really matter what we pick. We could take, for example, Sleight of Hand and Stealth, and then Perception is always nice to have, so maybe go with something like that. That is mostly just whatever you need to fill holes in your party, but the extra skill proficiencies will definitely come in handy. One other thing to keep in mind is that it doesn't show the bonuses from having the expertise from Knowledge Cleric, so don't accidentally select those skills again, or you'll be wasting your skill proficiencies. You just need to remember which ones you picked. Slight interface problem there, but what can you do? For the spell that we're going to pick, Enhance Ability is really good if you want to cast it on yourself. This is usually better to get from a party member, but you can use it on Charisma, gain advantage on all your other skills, but on all your conversation skills, but of course we already have advantage on our intimidation and performance skills from the Thaumaturgy cantrip, so we don't necessarily need this. You could definitely just take a combat skill like Cloud of Daggers. Doesn't particularly matter, and you'll want to replace a level 1 spell with a level 2, but both of those are kind of up to you. Finally, at level 5, we hit 4th level Bard, and the build fully comes online because we'll take whatever for our cantrip and whatever for our spell. We get to take the Actor feat. Actor increases your charisma by 1, which is why we had 17 charisma, so now we have a +4 charisma bonus, and more importantly, gives us expertise in deception and performance. So now we have expertise in every single charisma skill. This is enormously powerful and will give us the ability to succeed on pretty much every conversational check that we might have. So let's take a quick look at how this looks all summed up. So at level 5, when we get access to Actor and our 1-level Cleric dip, our character has plus 10, this is with no items equipped or any other bonuses, plus 10 in Deception, Intimidation, Performance, and Persuasion, all the conversation skills. We have plus 5 Insight, which is pretty good, and we could maybe boost that even higher with some other potential options, and, we could use guidance and so on that. We have Arcana and History at decent levels, and we have some other random skills that we are proficient in and can do decent values in. With plus 10 to each of these skills, our Persuasion or our Intimidate and Perform checks are going to be rolling 2d20s because of the advantage for an average result of 16.5, plus a d6 from our Bardic Inspiration, which we can cast on ourselves before we go into a combat and then use it for any before we go into a conversation, and then use it for any checks that we might have to roll in that conversation. And then an additional 10 from our proficiency bonus for an average result of 30, which is enormous. And then for our Persuasion and Deception rolls, we get Guidance instead of Thaumaturgy, so it's a slightly smaller bonus for an average skill roll of 27.5, both of these at level 5. If we get Guidance or Enhanceability from other characters to give us advantage on the skills we don't have advantage to, or guidance on the skills we wouldn't have guidance on if we're casting Thaumaturgy, then we get our average result for all 4 of these skills up to 32, 32.5, with a theoretical maximum roll of 40 at level 5 on every conversation skill. Obviously, this is way more than you need to pass every single skill check in the game. Basically, only natural ones will you fail on conversation skills with this build, so it's really good for being able to see a ton of the story and experience the game with your main character succeeding on glibly talking your way out of violence and into situations. And of course, it's also a very powerful combat build, being a full caster with only a single level dip, and will get you through Tactician. However, there's one trick we can do to optimize it even further. Now that we've hit level 5, I'm just going to talk to Withers here and reset myself back to 0. And we are going to make all the same selections, making sure we have all of this stuff as well, but I'm going to change out one thing, and that thing is that I'm going to unselect Deception and Performance as proficient skills, and just put those proficiencies anywhere else. Follow the same level up path. Taking our leveling Cleric, we've got all this stuff. You remember what spells and everything we're going to pick. Go back to Bard. Have to pick something here. Pick something here with College of Lore. Remember that you have to go to the secret level up here. And take Intimidation and Persuasion Expertise, and then we put our 3 proficiency skills into just anything else. I did forget to take Knowledge Cleric, so you'll have to remember to do that, of course. But we'll have Arcana and History as well. And then finally, at level 4 Bard, when we get access to the Actor feat, you don't have to have Deception and Performance proficiencies in order to have the Actor feat give you expertise in those spells. So when you select Actor at level 4, if you didn't take those proficiencies previously, you effectively get 2 extra skill proficiencies. So at level 5, we can respec ourselves and get 2 extra skill proficiencies, giving us an enormous... These should be plus 5s, but I forgot to take the Knowledge Cleric, but giving us proficiency in every intelligence skill, every expertise in every charisma skill, and additional proficiencies across the board. We could have one more if we'd taken a race that gives us proficiency in other skills, or we could potentially, with Githyanki, we could select Acrobatics and then use our Ancestral Knowledge on Wisdom instead of Insight, and then use our Ancestral Knowledge instead of Wisdom. We could take Acrobatics instead of Insight proficiency, and then use our Ancestral Knowledge class feature to gain proficiency in every single Wisdom skill, giving us proficiency in every single skill in the game, proficiency or expertise, with the single exception of 1 of athletics or acrobatics. So that's incredibly powerful. We would have all the wisdom skills, all the charisma skills, all the intelligence skills, and let's say all the dexterity skills, but just be missing athletics. All right, my friends, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. This is, I think, a really powerful build, and if you want to expand it further, another thing you could do is take Rogue. Rogue would get a single level of Rogue would give you expertise in 2 more skills. You could put that into Insight, for example, and have Insight expertise. You will get expertise in 2 more skills at level 10 Bard, but obviously that's a ways off. Another option is a single level of Wizard to gain access to every Wizard spell. I'll do a video on this as well, but if you take 1 level of Wizard on a full spellcasting class, you get all the Wizard spells because they learn from scrolls instead of from leveling up. Or just keep on going with Bard to get access to level 6 Bard spells with Bard 11, Cleric 1 as your final class layout. Any of those is great and will be really powerful. We'll see you through the game with all of your conversation skills doing excellently. All right, well, anyways, my friends, hope you've enjoyed this video. You can see me putting these optimization principles into action in my Iron Man playthrough of Baldur's Gate, which is also going up on my channel, so tune into that. Episodes going up regularly. We're playing a Githyanki sorcerer with no reloads of any kind. Which is really on Tactician, which is really fun. And you can, of course, leave likes and comments and subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers, my friends. GG.